So hey there, how you doing? So what have I been up to as of late? I know it's probably mysteries. Um, so I wanted to put some music to YouTube as far as like an intro and a few other little things because we're starting to do some videos. I want to make them look a little more professional. I want to make them look a little more streamlined. Something that you'd look at and go, okay, well, there's some value put into that, right? I'm doing some little podcasting edits as well. I thought it'd be nice to have some intro music and a few little things, right? So not reinventing the wheel, not going overboard on it. I didn't want to go and hire somebody on Fiverr to do it. I essentially wanted to do it myself. And normally, like in the past, I would just pull out the keyboard and just do, make some music, like techno pop stuff, right? Simple, because it's literally just like your Channel 13 back in 1983. Pretty easy to modify. However, because I am who I am, and I accept that, um, I I like to overcomplicate things beyond the norm. And I've been working through some personal stuff in my mind a little bit. So I just thought, well, as crazy as it sounds, I enjoy making music. And I would normally take around a little notepad or a little, when I'm at work, and normally be in my pocket. I would, if someone said a line, I thought that was kind of cool. I put it in a little book and kind of go, okay, for later on, I might use that as a little reference, right? I've been doing that for years. It's one of those things where I'm not a musician, but it was also kind of a way of keeping track of little jokes because I thought to myself, well, that seems funny. And at some point in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, maybe I'll become a comedian. Not really, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like, well, that's a funny little item. I'll put it in there. Maybe I can use it someplace else. And normally it'd be just like a nonsensical little eh, quirky thing, right? And sometimes you'd meet people and kind of go, they don't realize they're that funny, right? You kind of go, oh, that's interesting. That's hilarious, right? And then I just scribble it down, or I go, that's a nice little song line, or there's a little vignette there that's kind of cool. I like that. Now, I did do some stuff in school, like way back in the day when there were chalkboards. Yeah, there were no phones. So it was one of those things where we're talking ancient schooling. So we went down this little rabbit hole of I'm going to make some music. And I thought, well, okay, well, let's try some of this AI generated stuff. So we did. And of course, what unfolds? Let's have a little look. So I'm going to share a screen here, and I apologize. You're in the live session, which means there's no editing. So you're going to have a little momentary pause there. Cup of tea. Enjoy. So here I am down at the bottom of the screen. Technology is amazing. You know that it's mind-boggling. Thanks, Google. So we went on to Suno because if we're going to do it, we're going to try and do it for free, right? That's just the nature of it. Of course, I just wanted a little, snippet type thing to do like an intro and so forth. But because DVD and because I've got some stuff I'm trying to work through, which I'm going to tell you right off the bat, that if you're looking for something that'll help you out a little bit, right? Music is one of those things that's kind of freeing. So kind of gets you out there. So of course, since it was just going to be a quick little item, we've gone ahead and we've made 30 songs, 30 plus songs, and it a lot of oddball work. So let's have a little look here. So whenever you make a song on Suno, having a little area, get into Suno actually, we'll talk a little bit about it. So you can see that there's a lot of work in progress, or right down at the bottom. There we go. So we've pretty much blown through the credits because, again, when I get into something, it's like, boom, I got to get into it. So we have made, I think, close to a little over 100 songs. Some are good, some are worth posting, some are questionable, but there's 100 songs there. And this has been over a span of, let's see, November 9th is when we started on this, and it's now November 14th. So 5 days, over 100 songs. Um, some of them are reversions or kind of re-edits on another one. Now, unfortunately, so I'm going to share this down instead. So this is my front page, and the front page is kind of cool. So your title, your lyrics, and funny part is, again, because forever and a day, I just have a stack of lyrics and kind of half baked, almost done, not quite there, couple things here and there for doing songs that go back since I worked at General Motors, because I always carried a notebook at General Motors. I kind of continued with that. So I have stacks and stacks of kind of like dumb little notes that I push off to the side. I'm going to try and get this done at some point, but I never found the time or the wherewithal to do it, right? So it's one of those things where I don't have a recording studio. I don't have the technology to make a proper song as far as that's concerned. I don't have the ability to post, right? So it would have been like bring the guitar out, do the little guitar thing, and then record it on the old internet. I don't really want to do that. So it's one of those things where there we go. It's a pretty picture of a bird. So it's one of those things where it just didn't come to completion. Now, the last couple of days, well, actually, last couple of weeks, we've seen a slowdown at work. And you get it kind of on a seasonal thing. It's one of those things where if you get model changeovers, sometimes there'll be a little bit of a pause while you retool equipment. There's also a yearly point where we kind of slow down just a little bit because we're coming into the seasonal holidays. So it kind of just moves down. Then January, we get back and we go pitter patter, and we start moving really quick, right? This year's been weird because, well, politics and everything. So it hasn't been really predictable. So there's been a cycle to it. So inadvertently, the time when we would normally be slowing down a little bit, we're a little slower. And inadvertently, when we be pittering down to get to the holidays, we're a little sooner on that. So it means that I've had a little bit of time, kind of in between shifts or reduced hours to do this, which is why I'm doing it, to occupy my mind so I don't go crazy and overthink it, right? Because what happens when we do that? We go crazy. We don't want that. So we started making music. Now, we are in the process, and I like to listen to Tom MacDonald because I like his music. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. It is what it is. If Tom's watching, probably not. But if you are, you make some great songs, and then you make some really bad ones. Then you make some great songs, and you make some really bad ones. So I think you're hitting, or you're making your music to hit a certain group of people. And I think I'm on that cycle where it's like, oh, here we are. We're at the top. I like his music. Pretty good. Cycle down. And you're kind of doing it for somebody else. And then cycle back up. You're making it for me again. Cycle back down. You're making it for somebody else, which is cool. I like that. I like a variety and mix. So expand yourself. That's pretty cool. I like that. And I was watching his interview on, let's see, where do we have that? So I was watching his interview on, I think it was Spotify, or it was one of those things at night where I could play it and I could listen to it. And I thought to myself, the technology is where it's at. And he mentioned AI. He was talking about the negatives on it, a whole host of things. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm doing the reverse kind of rethinking in my head. I'm going, well, hold on. If that's a red flag there for past artists, right? But I would be a new artist. And I'm not even an artist per se. Like, I like doing lyrics. Like, that's my thing. I don't particularly have the skill set to do a symphony. I'm not going to score the next big giant opera. It's not going to happen, right? So I'm just looking for something that I can put my lyrics into. And Suno does that, which is pretty amazing as far as that's concerned. You get to play around with genres, have a whole host of fun. Is it perfect? Is it what I would normally do if I were going to do it? I'd probably go down a different. I would probably go down a different road with it. But it's one of those things where it's pretty good. It's one of those things where it's music I would enjoy listening to, and I do now. So I have my own little music listing of like my 10 favorites out of my 20 that I've posted, 30 that I've posted. So again, I'm cycling just like another artist would. So I got my playlist. I'm going, okay, well, that's pretty decent. And some of the stuff is just things that I thought were stupid. I thought, okay, well, let's make a stupid song because it's a Friday night. I got nothing else to do, right? So we made a couple stupid songs. Just kind of go, TTT, ha ha ha. These are horrible. But again, I publish them because it's ha ha ha, they're horrible songs. But at the same time, there's got to be somebody out there that goes, oh, that's interesting. So this is where that little 30-second little, I want the intro or the 15-second intro or the little audio that goes over the little Turo spots I'm going to put in between my live sessions. Has kind of gone into this little tailspin of this is fascinating, right? As far as that's concerned. Now, to give you an idea, like if you're out there and you're thinking, I'm going to do a live thing on it. I must have a tab open. I have 8 million tabs open. I was working through some personal stuff, so I came up with a song that I'm pretty proud of. I like it. I even like the music behind it. Is it a huge hit from any station? No, not at all. It's not meant to be there. It's just one of those things where I thought I liked it. I thought it hit a note with me. It took some of my writings that I've been putting together and put it into a functional format because I use ChatGPT to help out with the editing and to help out with the writing a little bit. So it now sounds like I've got a series of crutches. So I've got ChatGPT, which does the editing, as well as some of the sentence structure. It just cleans things up a little bit and kind of gives me a little bit of advice to say, hey, this should be in a verse or this should be. It does a really nice job on that. So it's one of those things where it's very helpful and speeds the process up dramatically. But normally, if I were scribbling down back in the day, young Keith making music, that would never really get done. So there'd never really be a completion to this. It would always be, it keeps going and going and going and going. So at least this kind of says, hey, here's the chorus, breakdown of it, right? It does everything as far as that's concerned and says, okay, these are the categories you need to fill, and these are the things that we can work on. So is AI going to change the record industry or the recording industry? I think it is because I'm essentially an idiot. Like I'm just started and I made a song that I think is pretty decent that I can enjoy and I can share with family, right? It's one of those things where this took me maybe an afternoon, not including the writing aspect. Writing had already been kind of already in the back of my head and already been scribbled down in spots. But it's one of those things where we're going to play a little bit. So you can check it out if you want to. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But it's one of those things where to be able to complete that to a point where you can enjoy it and be able to play it and share it is pretty amazing. Now, if you're a professional musician, you should probably be very scared of this because it's one of those things where your bar was here. Right? My bar was down here. I should probably even below that, below the bar, well below the bar. It's moved it up to, am I at a professional? No, but I'm not that far off. If I practice on this and if I get a little more into it, if I buy I went with a pro package, but there's another package that kind of upgrades to allow you to get into the mixing aspect of it and to be able to alter and change instead of using it as a selection or a rotisserie of background music and fitting it into its own little style, right? It kind of does it for you. Whereas if you move into the next package, you can play with those features. In other words, you become even more of an influence within the AI when it comes to the Suno. And a lot of this is very similar to what was in um, Apple Studios. How to explain it? Friendly, and it assists you in such a amount that it really does bring that gap dramatically together. And it's one of those things where if it's just the content, the subject matter that you're looking at, if it's just the spark, that little nod to what you're doing, as far as that's concerned, if that's what you have, but you don't have the musical talent or the skill set, but you have that creative, you can make your own music. And is it really 100% you? No, but you are tailoring it to your liking, and you are making your own words. So in a roundabout way, it's a percentage. How much of a percentage is it? It's kind of up for you to kind of assess. Like, is the writing part of it? Are the lyrics and the verses and everything that's in there, is that the big part? Like, is that 80% and music is 20%? Is it reversed? And probably if you're a musician, you're going to go, oh, hold on. No. It's the other way around. It's 80% music, 20% words, right? The music leads the emotion. Or does the lyrics lead the emotions? It's one of those things where it's a very, very odd way to look at it from as far as what is the percentage of creativity that's put into this. Now, the other one, so we're going to go to here because we're going to look at the background stuff. Because I am who I am. And again, OCD kind of kicking in. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to kind of go out and say, okay, well, let's try and get the stats, because I've done enough things where it's like, oh, well, we dabbled in it, and now we have to unfold the nightmare that was the creative, where you go, well, that's great. That's wonderful. Where do we start? Oh, last year. That's great. How do I untangle the mess that I've created, even though I've created a project and I've moved forward on it? I've learned enough to say, okay, if you like it or you think you're gonna like it, to go ahead and try and get the administrative aspects of it done. To go ahead and try and get the foundation in place. Because a lot of times I would go ahead, like with art, would be a good example. I would just start painting. It'd be one of those things. Well, if you step back a little bit, you can kind of go, I need frames. I get the frames first, and I put the art in the frame. It's a good analogy, actually, for this. It saves me a ton of steps having to have that frame built, designed. Ton of money. Whereas I can say, okay, well, look, here's my art. In other words, there's my lyrics. AI is just providing me the framework. And if I do the framework first properly, the art end of it, the lyrical end of it, or the music end of it will fit that frame. And is it restrictive? Yes, it is restrictive. But at the same time, if I'm doing a painting and I find the size of the painting restrictive, I can't continue painting on the wall, right? No one's going to see the wall. It's one of those things where you're either making a mural or you're making a 17 by 12. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's one of those things where at least this says this is the parameter in which you're working, and this is the framework. Make it do that, right? So it's one of those things where I thought, okay, that makes sense. I don't know if you understand that or not. So we went ahead and we went to TuneCore. And I went to TuneCore basically because, again, I was watching that, well, not watching, listening to the old earpiece at work. And Tom MacDonald was going on about distribution. I thought, well, what is that? Right? I don't know. So I went out and said, okay, well, I'm going to look into this because he was complaining about it. I thought, well, let's take this common sense country. So I made one that I kind of like, and I would like to put it out there in the world and maybe perhaps see a little fraction of a penny, little tiny little fraction, which is probably what it is. It's like a small amount, a tiny little bit. So on this one, it's even less money than when you do YouTube, just so you're aware. So it's really a hobby of passion or something that you would really enjoy doing. It's not really something that you do profit-wise unless you're going to make yourself a mixed tape and start selling it in the park. Actually, that's probably the most profitable way to do it. And go to the local track meet, bees and t-shirts. But anyways, so we went ahead and registered with TuneCore. So, and TuneCore, I think I have it up to Common Sense Country. So we're in the process of doing it. It is surprisingly like filling out a tax form. So this is where I'm gonna say is the bottleneck when you get into AI music. So it's kind of like, boom, some of the actual columns correctly, or I didn't fill out some of the sections correctly. So it means I've got to go back and change it, right? And this is a learning curve. So my understanding is that once you go through this, it's really rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So the fact that I've got 30 songs that I kind of go, they're all right. And I've got out of the 30, maybe 10 that I kind of go, yeah, they're pretty good. Then out of the 10, maybe I've got one. Well, two that I kind of think are that are favorites that I would probably put into a music rotisserie with other that I'd say I would compete with in my mind from my enjoyability level. So I'm kind of going from the standpoint of music that I like and I would enjoy. So regardless of whether anybody actually downloads it or regardless of whether or not it gets out there and has any insurmountable impact, it doesn't really matter in my mind. It's a bonus if it does. It's something that I can enjoy the feedback and get that sense of appreciation, much like when I paint. And something I stopped doing years ago. But when I painted, I always liked the idea that someone made a nice compliment about it. That's nice. It's very sweet. Someone bought the painting because they felt it was worth a value point. Whether the value point was under or over is debatable. It's subject to the person looking at it, subject to the person that's creating it, whether they want to let it go for that amount, or whether the person wants to pay the amount, or whether one thinks a little bit. It is a subjective exchange, but it's an exchange where you go, okay, well, you've exchanged your money, which really represents time in my mind. So if you went ahead and said, okay, I've got a mural on my wall that I thoroughly enjoy, I like it, it's one of my favorites. It represents probably about a week's worth, probably over a week's worth of work and steady. So if I were to put it into a gallery and sell it, the price point would have to reflect a week's work. Now, that would be in the pricing. So someone has to come in and say to themselves, I'm prepared to give up a week of my time, which I made money with. I'm now exchanging that money, which is time, for your time. And that's a huge compliment. Like in my mind, that's one of those things you look at and kind of go, thank you. Like that's a way of really saying, hey, I like that. I'm prepared to actually spend time with it. I don't know if you're an artist out there and you do it, if you can kind of understand that, but that's kind of the way I was looking at it. So if someone goes out there and they go, okay, it's on the Apple iStore, or it's somewhere where you can buy it, and it's not an expensive amount because it kind of factors out, and they go, okay, I'd like to have that for download, and they pay for it. It's a nice way of saying, hey, you know what? I appreciate the effort you put into it. I appreciate the words that are there. I appreciate the emotional time and effort. I'm going to exchange that with something, which is money. And the money is really equated to time. So that's one of those things that I look at and kind of go, okay, that makes sense. So that's our first one. So we've gone ahead and We've corrected all the mistakes that we made on it. Now, the only thing that, and this is what Tom MacDonald was saying, again, during his interview process or his little rant, which, thank you for sharing the mechanics, do your work or how your creative process works. So I thought I filled everything out pretty decently. And I'm usually pretty good at figuring out, check the mark, fill a column appropriately. Even I made mistakes, and I'm pretty decent at it. I've gotten really good at doing forms. Came back as I needed to do a couple of adjustments, which is fine. Not a decline, not a denial, not hey, your music is horrible. And I know they're not really being that subjective, but again, it's one of those things in my mind. So I get that back. It's like, okay, we need to change these. But the timeline on these things are frustrating. So you're going from what is going to be, I have to wait 3 days, potentially, probably, to get a response off those minor changes. And then we'll have our first song out in the world, in the ether of the internet. It'll be one single drop in the ocean, one small little drop in the ocean. So this is what I've been up to. I don't know if that explains why I haven't been posting anything. I've got a bunch of videos kind of still stuck in kind of being downloaded, unfortunately, because I'm at home and I'm on a rural route. The issue is speed is so slow and so poor that it's one of those things that in order for me to take a video and throw it up onto YouTube, sometimes it takes an afternoon, and I've got to leave it kind of just running in the background to get it to complete. So I am in the process of trying to do that. So it's one of those things that'll come up slowly. Turo has been really quiet. So it's one of those things where I got the Hyundai out once. So we've done a transmission service. We've got a video on that. We did a snow tire changeover. Got a video on that. We talked a little bit about some new Turo features that are coming out. Did that. And we've done a couple of videos on OMBEC. So again, check those out. But again, because I'm sitting here at the desk working on Suno, I thought, why not? And you can kind of get an idea what's going on. This is going to go in the section of building an internet channel. And it's one of those slippery slopes where it kind of takes you down a road less traveled on a lot of things. So I hope you enjoy the inner workings of just some guy in the backwoods of Canada, Atwood, just plugging away, trying to make a few things on the internet. That's all I'm doing. If you enjoy the content, I'd appreciate if you subscribe or a thumbs up if you don't want me, annoying you. Thumbs up is always nice. Appreciate that. Again, thank you very much for checking out the video. I do greatly appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.